Hello and welcome to this webinar. Here today we are going to explore Neptune. I think it's a fascinating topic, and I will look at four interaspects, and these will be Neptune with the Sun, the Moon, Venus and Mercury, so the luminaries and the personal planets. All right, so let's skip and move into the next slide. Neptune in Synastry. Neptune is one of the outer planets. So the outer planets, when they connect with personal planets in Synastry, very often there is a certain degree of karma involved, especially if the aspects repeat each way. So here, a single one-way Neptune aspect will be strong, but not as strong as when the aspects repeat each way, because that's generally this indicates that there are some lessons to work through, to overcome. So it's essential to pay attention to these interaspects, whether this is a single one-way aspect or a double repeated one. Now, Neptune in Synastry tends to look at relationships through rose-tinted glasses. So there's that Neptunian influence that can create confusion, that can create lack of clarity very often. And very often we see the partner as someone who is just perfect. Now, the challenge here is to recognize who has what qualities and how each can develop missing qualities for itself, because very often we look for the qualities that do not exist, but we expect to find them. Now, here with Neptune in Synastry, of very often there is that very high intuition, high dreams of perfectionism as well, of perfection. So when interacting with someone with whom we have a Neptune interaspect, it's really important that we put everything or anything in writing. Or if we're working with someone, it's really essential, because things might just dissolve, things might be said but never fulfilled, and it's just a little advice on the side note. Of course, with the double whammy, so that repeated aspects, very often there is that unrealistic idealization in place as well. But let's have a look what each interaspect means, because of course the Sun, Mercury, the Moon will have a very different influence when they connect with Neptune here in Synastry. All right, so let's have a look at the Sun and Neptune interaspect. A really, really intense energy here. And if you meet someone with whom you have this interaspect, or if you have already, or perhaps if this is someone in your family, generally, if it's a family member, you might see them through rose-tinted glasses. If it's your father, you might idealize him in some way, or see him slightly differently to others in a more idealistic way. But at the same time here, the Sun and Neptune interaspect suggests that idealized picture of male energy. Here with this interaspect, usually relationships with the Sun and Neptune interaspect feel like soulmate connections, soul-like connections, even if it's one way. And one-way interaspect. So there is this excitement at first. It feels like you've known each other forever. You know what the other person is feeling or thinking. Now, if the aspect is repeated in karmic astrology, it suggested that these two beings, they've lived many lifetimes together, and they incarnated to this lifetime, to Earth, to work on a mutual goal or a spiritual purpose, or perhaps they are here to support each other in some way on their spiritual journey. So really deep and profound connections that maybe at times they might feel suffocating if these two beings or people are supposed to be independent. They will have to do things separately, because there is such strong pull to one another. that it might be difficult to operate independently. Right. So now let's have a look at the moon. All right, so the moon and Neptune interaspect. Here, the moon is connected to feminine energy. The moon is connected to the past. And very often with the moon and Neptune interaspect in synastry, there is a certain degree of some emotional karma between the couple, some deeply rooted emotional, maybe expectations. Perhaps this is connected to being let down by another in the past. Now, when you meet someone with whom you have a connection with that Neptune and the moon connection, person might seem very familiar to you. You might feel like you've met before or you've known each other for a long time, even though it might be just a very short time since you've met. Sometimes with Neptune and the moon interaspect, I think especially with it's a square tense aspect, there could be a certain degree of mistrust in play as well between the two individuals. With the moon being or representing feminine energy, unlike the sun that represents the masculine energy, there is an idealized picture of the feminine energy with the moon and Neptune interaspect. Now, men with a natal aspect, the moon and Neptune aspect here, may have expectations of perfection, and they may carry this out onto the partner, their partner. Now, with the moon and Neptune interaspect, the relationship may appear to be really loving and nurturing, caring and close, but there could be some possible blockages around the sphere or the area of intimacy. Perhaps at times it might be difficult as well to see the partner for whom they really are. I think there could be some lessons connected to the boundaries, so establishing healthy boundaries in the relationship here with the moon and Neptune interaspect. Now, with Neptune and the moon, I think it's also about knowing how the other person feels. There's that very deep emotional connection here. So let's have a look at the next interaspect. Okay, so we've got Neptune and Mercury. Mercury, the planet connected to communication, the messenger of, in astrology, communication, our intellect. So what we immediately learn from Neptune and Mercury interaspect is that there is a certain degree of that mental communication, that ability to understand one another telepathically, that ability to know what the other person thinks. So there is this very deep intuitive insight that one may develop into the partner's motivations, desires. But at times, especially if there is a square or some tense aspect, there is a tendency towards secrecy, towards lies as well. So here the lesson with Mercury and Neptune interaspect is to learn to communicate openly, clearly, effectively. It's a very common interaspect when it comes to people who work together, not necessarily people who are lovers, but perhaps people who work together, especially since Mercury is connected to that analytical, practical energy as well. So perhaps this could be people who are teachers or accountants, counselors as well. And here there is this emphasis upon that mental energy communication as well. All right, so let's have a look at the final interaspect with Venus. All right, so Venus and Neptune connection here, interaspect in synastry. This is an interesting one because, of course, Venus is connected to love, relationships, unions, partnerships. And here with Venus and Neptune in synastry, there is this massive pull to one another, strong bond connection, soul-like connection, without a doubt, unconditional love. Something to really remember about this here with this interaspect is to maintain the space and a sense of self, healthy and clear boundaries. Because otherwise, very often one can allow for anything to happen, to be walked over. So here, the Neptune person in the relationship very often might push for codependency. Another common theme of this interaspect is idolization as well. A tendency also to place their beloved onto a pedestal. So here with the double whammy, so the repeated interaspect, there is this massive connection, love, chemistry. Now, in other case scenario with one-way interaspect, it might be that one person is crazy about the other, but it doesn't receive the same amount of love and affection from the other. So in this case scenario, the double interaspect is especially strong, and the love is just crazy in chemistry, and it's just there's a lot of fascination with one another. But with the one-sided interaspect, it might be that the love is also one-sided. Of course, it will depend on other interaspects. This is just one of them. You have to look at the whole chart. But I think it's quite interesting to explore that Neptune energy, because it's beautiful. It's mesmerizing. All right, so here we go. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do suggest further topics, and I'll explore them in the upcoming months for you. But in the meantime, have a good day, and until the next time, bye for now.